Good evening and welcome to UNX News. I'm your host, Margie Kay, and here we are on a cool December morning or evening. I cannot believe that it's already December, but that is how it goes. Time is just flying like crazy. I have a great show for you tonight, but first I want to remind you to go to my website, margiekay.com, MARGIEKAY.com, to see my books. You'll see a list of my books and other things that are available and some of my classes and things like that. So please take a minute and go do that. And I want to say also just a shout out to Race Hobbs. This past year has been fantastic working with you as the program director for NX, and you have really done an outstanding job and choosing the best shows, and we have the best shows here on the NX network, and that's entirely due to your work, Race. Thank you so much. This evening, my special guest, and I've been waiting to meet this lady for a long time. Sev Talk is a speaker, author, transformational coach, ufologist, and experiencer advocate. And she has been a speaker at a number of conferences, including AlienCon and the MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, Symposium 2022. She was the Master of Ceremonies. She is the MUFON Assistant State Director for North Carolina, a Field Investigator, and she's also on the Executive Committee for the Experiencer Resource Team. Also, well, we're going to get into this a little bit more here in a minute as I ask Sev some questions. Welcome to the program, Sev.
Hello, Margie. Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here with you. Thank you.
I'm so glad you could join me this evening. It sounds like you have had a very interesting life. You were born in Turkey, and then you immigrated to the U.S. as a little girl. You didn't know any English at the time. How long did it take you to learn English?
Well, it feels like I learned it overnight because I started first grade not knowing English. And by Christmas time, I remember the kids telling me who Santa was and who Jesus was, because we were doing this craft project where Jesus was in a manger, and I didn't know who Jesus was. I didn't know what the manger was. I didn't know what Santa was. And they were all describing all of that to me, and I understood all of it. So when you're that young, you learn it very quickly.
Yes. You learn a lot of things very, very easily and very quickly. So then you went on to earn a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Loyola University. Where is that?
There's one in Baltimore, which is where I went, and there's one in Chicago.
Okay.
And med, and then I decided I had an internship at University of Maryland Hospital, and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore.
That wasn't for you, huh?
No.
That wasn't your deal.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, you moved to North Carolina in 2017.
Yeah.
So what happened there when you arrived?
Well, what happened changed my life. I've been an experiencer since I was a little girl. My first conscious memories are from the age 10, where I was visited regularly by this being until the age 12. But I hid all this, and I even hid it from my parents. And I don't know why, Margie, because my parents were very open-minded and they were believers, but I still just didn't tell anybody. And so I just spent the next several decades of my life hiding it. And I learned that when you hide a very important part of yourself, that manifests in negative ways in all areas of your life because you're not living authentically. And it wasn't until I came out to myself, and Kathleen Marden helped me a lot, that I changed my perspective, because I used to think the ETs, well, the grays were evil. And I thought they were bad. And then when I did this spiritual journey, this really deep introspection, looking at myself and trying to understand why I played the victim role, because I played the victim role in every relationship I was in. And so that's why I assumed I was a victim to the ETs too. So when I changed that perspective, I no longer resonate with the victim vibe. I saw that the Greys are not evil, that they were helping me. And but this transformation came after what happened to me in 2017 when I moved here to the Inner Banks of North Carolina from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. And I moved to a tiny, tiny, tiny town. And it was my second night here that I made contact with a Grey. And it was in the morning, I was in the kitchen unpacking dishes, and I was with my ex then. And while I was unpacking the dishes, I felt something bite my butt, and it hurt. And so I yelled over to my boyfriend, will you look at my butt? I think something bit it. So he's like, yeah. So I go over to the living room and I'm giggling to myself because I think it's funny. And I bend over and he's looking and he's not saying anything. And I'm starting to get really nervous. And he said, well, you know, there is a bug bite, but there's also an X.
Mm.
This X, which is appropriate. I'm on your show because
yeah, is this it?
X. Yes, that's it. So that was on my left cheek of my tush. Wow. And we were both stunned. And I knew right away it was the Greys. And so back then, like I said, I thought they were messing with me. And I just told them, we're going to forget this ever happened. We're going to forget we even saw this. And when I ran my finger over it, like I couldn't even feel it. And those little dots, they're equidistant. And I searched far and wide throughout the house to try and figure out what would burn an X like that in my tush. And I couldn't come up with anything. Yeah. It was about 1.5 inches wide or so. So we agreed that we were going to ignore it.
Yeah.
Because I ignored so much my whole entire life, you know, scoop marks and other cut out marks on my body and bruises and bright lights in the hallway and things on my bed touching me. And I ignored all of it. So this was a normal thing for me to do. But then 9 days later, I came to in my bedroom and I had this download of a memory of what had happened the night before. And I was on this hospital type bed. And I was in this room that was dimly lit. And I was lying on my side. And I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. I felt paralyzed. And I sensed there was something behind me. So I couldn't move my head. So I turned around and right here, just inches from me, was a Grey. And we stared into each other's eyes. We locked eyes. I have a drawing of it. That's another story. That's a baby in a tube. But yeah, that's what was standing behind me. And we locked eyes and it didn't say anything. In all my other experiences with the Greys, there was always telepathic communication. But this time there was nothing. And that scared me even more. I was terrified. I turned my head back around and ding, I'm in my bedroom, wide awake. And I go downstairs and I'm very afraid because if there's another X on me, I was like, I'm not going to be able to take it. Like, I'll lose it. Like, this is too much for me. And my ex always got up first, but this time I got up first. And I went downstairs and I waited for him. And I was very afraid while I was waiting for him. Even now when I tell the story, my heart starts to race a little bit. And he finally came downstairs and I told him my memory. And there was something else I remembered too, which I had never known before. And I knew that when I was on that bed in that room, I was on the moon.
Really?
Yeah, it was just a knowing. And so I'm like, all right, will you look at my butt again? And I'm praying. I'm like, please don't tell me there's another X. Please don't tell me there's another X. So he looks at it. I'm like, well, and he goes, there's another X. And time, it's on the right cheek. It's directly across from the first one. Looks just like the first one. And it's really hard, Margie, to explain what went through me. It was an existential crisis because all of a sudden, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who we as a human race was. I didn't know what I was doing in the middle of the night talking to aliens. I didn't know why they were messing with me. Like, I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. And
so your entire reality changed.
Yeah. And then I had to face it. After decades of ignoring it, I had to face it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started crying, and then I pulled myself together. And for the first time in my life, I said, I need help. I need help. I can't do this alone. But I didn't know who that was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to get help. So I let that organically happen. And I tried to ignore it, but it was just too shocking to ignore. And one of my best friends who lives on the island of Maui, she said, Sev, you should watch this movie, Unacknowledged, by Dr. Stephen Greer. Mm. So I watched it, and after it was over, it was like lit this fire inside of me. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to find somebody. So I walked over to my computer. I didn't know who I was going to contact. I had to send somebody a picture of my ex. And I heard in my head, MUFON. So I Googled it.
Wait. You didn't know about MUFON before that?
No, because my whole entire life, I refused to read anything or watch anything that had to do with aliens. I refused. I was scared to.
You were in denial.
The cover, Whitley's, the cover of Whitley's book, Communion.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't look at that. I couldn't look at that for decades.
Yeah. That scared me to death when I first saw it. And the first words out of my mouth were, oh, someone else has seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of people. But
it wasn't a comforting thought.
So you hear the word MUFON in your head.
Yeah. So I Google it, and then I see it's the Mutual UFO Network, the largest UFO research organization in the world. And I go on there, and I see a picture of Kathleen Marden. And I'm like, oh, well, she looks lovely. She's the one that's going to help me. So I sent her a picture of my ex, and she responded within a couple days. And then we Skyped for an hour and a half. It was one of the most important conversations of my life. And she validated everything for me. And since then, we've become friends, and I'm lucky enough to have her endorse my book. And I said, Kathy, what am I supposed to do with all the information the Greys have given me? Because they've given me information about the hybridization program and the possible fate of Earth and other things. Because I see myself actually in my mind's eye. I see myself on stage. And she said, Sev, I can't tell you what you're supposed to do. You have to figure that out. I'm like, okay. So it was a wonderful talk. And afterwards, actually during the talk, I told her one of my biggest fears is the government and the men in black.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, are they going to come after me? And she told me some true stories that it does happen. So after the talk, I decided, I don't know what I'm going to do with this information. I'm just going to let that organically resolve itself. But in the meantime, I'll call my mother and tell her how it went. So while I was on the phone with my mother, just a few minutes in on a landline, the phone died. Just like that. And it had never died before, and it never died again. And I'm like, oh my God, here it goes. It's the government. And also that night, I had my first conscious memory of a MILAB.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I have a few conscious memories of those. The MILAB portion of this, Margie, is kind of, I'm just newly coming out with it. It seems to be the hardest part for me to process. I don't understand it. I've had neutral experiences and I've had negative, bad experiences. I don't know who these government type men are. They were men that looked like they were in their 30s. There were also doctors and nurses and ETs and hybrid babies, and it's a mix of all kinds of stuff. I have about 4, 5, 6 conscious memories. So that was the first one that night after I talked to Kathy. So my phone goes dead, and then I have a MILAB experience. I'm like, oh my God, here it goes. But it didn't scare me as much as I thought it would. Since then, I have had an astral Men in Black experience, which was very scary because they have astral Men in Blacks as well as the 3D Men in Blacks.
Okay, I've got to hear about that.
Okay. Have you had experience with the astral Men in Black?
Yes.
Personally, you have?
Yes.
Oh, I'd like to hear about that too.
Mm-hmm. Well, for tonight, let's just hear about yours, and then we'll talk later.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's similar to mine.
It could be.
So this happened 2019, and a friend of mine came to visit. It's the first time she came to visit me, and she was a spiritual teacher, studied in India. And so we go to sleep that night. She goes into the guest room. She sleeps in the guest room, and there was a window there overlooking the water. And in the middle of the night, she crawls into my bed and she says, I'm afraid. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I sense something at the foot of the bed. And there at the foot of the bed, just a couple feet from me, is this tall, dark being, darker than the dark of the room, with the hat, the suit. It was just this dark black shadow. And an energy came out of it into me. It was not a good energy. It felt like these tentacles were coming inside of me, and it just wanted to pull my essence out. It just wanted to take me. And I refused because I have since then learned that I'm in control. We are all in control.
Yes.
So I fought it. And I'm like, oh, no, you got to go. You got to go. No, this isn't happening. And we had a battle. It was an energetic battle. And it felt like I was fighting for my life. And it finally left. And I was like, phew, I went to sleep. So the next morning we wake up and I'm like, did anything happen to you? She goes, yeah. I said, well, you crawled into my bed because you were afraid. She goes, no, I didn't do that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what happened to you? She said, well, I woke up in the middle of the night and I looked out your window and there was a hologram. I don't know the difference between hologram and holograph. Are they the same thing?
No, I think it's just hologram.
Okay. There was a hologram of Jesus Christ in the night sky. And this voice said to me, we can do this. We can put a hologram of anything in the sky and we can fool you.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is the same time I'm having the Men in Black experience. So they're related. Okay.
Now let's go back to your Men in Black experience for a minute. Because what you just described is the Hat Man, is a shadow person.
Yeah.
And I have not heard that description described as Men in Black.
Well, the astral, I call it an astral Men in Black.
Okay.
That's what I call it. But it has a name called, what's the name?
It's the Hat Man. It's a shadow person who's a Hat Man. And he's a negative entity.
Yes, he
and
is.
Can physically harm you.
Yes.
But like you said, they want you to believe that you're not in control, but you are in control. So you did the absolute right thing. Anyway, please go on.
Yeah, well, thank you for telling me that. I have not heard of the Hat Man. And I do believe that Hat Man was attached to my friend, because my friend all of a sudden started going down this rabbit hole of Hillary's going to be arrested and they eat babies and the Pizzagate and this and that and that. And she fell down that really negative hole. And I feel like that entity then attached itself to her. And so, wherever we go, we take our astral peeps with us. And so she came to my house and she came with that thing. And I think that thing just like, oh, let me see if I have a chance with Seth.
Oh, wow.
What I can do with her.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was very, very scary. I fought with everything I had. It was energetic. It's an
Yeah.
energetic fight. It's hard to describe. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Was your experience similar?
Well, when you said astral MIBs, I have seen MIBs materialize or partially materialize in my house and outside my house, but they're interdimensional.
Yes.
They're transparent. You can see through them, but they look like human beings wearing military uniforms or all black suits with white shirts and black ties and hats, and they look kind of mostly human, but there's always something a little bit off about them that you think they don't look quite so human, like real pale faces. That's what I've seen.
At your house?
Oh yes, and other places where I've traveling around. I mean, they follow me, so I mean they will absolutely do that.
Do you think they're attached to the government or some type of nefarious organization?
You know, Seb, that is so hard to tell. It could be either one. It could be that they're ETs keeping watch. Other times, perfectly normal human being type men in black have been involved in some of my cases where they have told people, you need to not publish a story or you need to stop talking about this, things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't think anybody knows exactly who they are or where they come from.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
What happened next with the Hat Man?
Well,
did I digress?
You were telling me that your friend had changed personality.
Yeah.
And you thought that something was attached to her.
Yeah. But at the time, I didn't realize that. It wasn't, she stayed a week, and it wasn't until afterwards I was like, oh my gosh, that was attached to her. At the time that she was visiting me, I didn't put it all together. Right. I told her what happened. She told me what happened. And then I was like, okay, let's go and do some sightseeing. Like, let's just kind of like not even visit this right now. And then after she left, I started thinking about it and I put two and two together. Yeah. We don't communicate anymore. Our relationship just dissolved. I mean, nothing bad happened, but our relationship did dissolve.
You know, that does happen. Have you had anybody else in your life that the relationship dissolved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were really good friends, like really sweet girlfriends. And nothing bad happened. It just like, ding, just kind of like gone.
Yeah. Marriages break up too.
Yes.
When you get involved in this, because the person can't deal with it. The other person just cannot deal with it.
Yeah. My ex was very, very supportive. Even though he didn't understand it, he was extremely supportive. So the relationship didn't end because of that.
Oh, well, that's good.
But I've always wanted to start a support group for the loved ones of experiencers. And I'm still considering doing that because they need help.
You know, that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, people are mostly focused on the experiencers because they're the ones that are having these things happen to them. But the loved ones are watching and they don't understand it.
No.
It's extremely stressful.
Yeah. So maybe I will do it.
Do it. That's a great idea.
I've never publicly said it before, so thank you, Margie. Now I have to do it.
It must be supposed to happen.
Yeah, because I can't imagine what it's like. I kept it a secret, but I didn't keep it a secret because I thought that my husband or I thought that my parents were going to make fun of me. I just kept it a secret because I just didn't want to deal with it. I really can't imagine what it feels like when you want to tell your spouse and you tell your spouse and they're like, you are freaking insane. Don't ever tell me again. Like, I cannot imagine how bad that feels. Do you know that experience?
Yeah. A lot of people that I have worked with as an investigator have had that experience.
So
yes. It's very sad.
Yeah. And there's a reason we're with the people we're with. So as an experiencer, there's a reason you're with that person. It's not, and it's
Yeah.
for the same reason. There's a reason why we have these experiences. There's a reason why we see an ET. There's a reason why we see a UFO. It's not just coincidental. So
No,
what
I
are we
believe the
supposed to
same.
learn from that? And what is our spouse, who at that moment is a non-believer, what are they supposed to learn from the experience? A lot.
Absolutely. And we are up on a break. So we're going to take a break for just a few minutes. We'll be right back with Sev Talk after this.
It's that time of year again, the season of giving. And in the spirit of giving, the UNX Network is kicking off our annual Ghost Story Contest for UNX subscribers. Just write and submit your best ghost story in 1,000 words or less in a Microsoft Word document for your chance to win a Christmas gift bag filled with UNX swag and have your ghost story published in the winter edition of the UNX magazine. So go to unxnetwork.com and find the best ghost story contest section for rules and submission details. You have until December 15th, 2022 to enter, and Father Time is ticking. It's the annual Paranormal Ghost Story Contest for UNX subscribers. If you're not already an X subscriber, log on to unxnetwork.com and register to become a subscriber there for free. You could win the Best Ghost Story Contest, win a bag of X swag, and be published in the UNX magazine. That's unxnetwork.com. Good luck and happy holidays. From all of us at the unxnetwork.com.
Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-fired heating and cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com. And we're back with the next news. I'm your host, Margie Kay, and my special guest this evening is Sev Talk. Sev, is it true that a planet and star system is named after you in the Star Wars galactic system?
Yes. And actually, recently, I've heard from quite a few people who heard my name mentioned in one of the recent episodes of the Andor series on Disney Plus. There's a Star Wars Andor, and they mentioned my planet, Sev Talk. Many years ago, my best friend was dating a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars. And he said to me, Sev Talk, I like your name. I'm going to name a planet after you. And I thought he was kidding, but the story came out, and there I was, the Sev Talk planet in the Sev Talk star system, and I have 2 moons, and I'm in Wikipedia. And I was just always patiently waiting until one day it's mentioned in a movie or in a TV show or something, and it is. Yes. And so my friend has made me immortal.
Well, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you have on your website planetsev.com.
Mm-hmm.
You offer personal and private guidance to experiencers. Tell me how that works.
Well, I help them for free. If you just go on my website, planetsev.com, and tell me your ET story, just fill out a few questions, and then I'll contact you. And I also have true ET stories on there, where I share some of the stories without mentioning anyone's name because I'm really big on privacy. And I also share some of the pictures and the drawings that experiencers have sent me. And I think it's a good idea to share because you go through and you look at these pictures and you read some of these stories, and it can really make you realize you're not crazy, that there's someone else who's had this. I think it's very important that an experiencer comes out to themselves and doesn't hide it. Because like I said, that manifests in a negative way in every realm of your life. You can't live inauthentically and expect to be successful and happy and fulfilled. You have to be authentic. And part of my authenticity includes the ETs. Not everybody's, but mine. There are actually millions of people who are having contact, but many of them don't know it because, as you know, Margie, a lot of it happens in this interdimensional, like hazy way. It kind of feels like a dream, but it's not. It's a real experience, but people just chalk it up as a dream. So I hope people realize that wasn't a dream, that was real. These interdimensional experiences don't happen like a very clean, clear 3D experience. Although I have come in contact with beings, I call them the blues, that just popped up in the middle of the day in my living room, and that was a very clean, clear 3D experience. But it doesn't always happen that way.
Now, the blues, are they interdimensional beings or are they extraterrestrials?
They are, well, they're off planet, so they're extraterrestrial.
Okay.
Light beings. They are gorgeous, and different shades of blue and a little bit of green, and they're just undulating. Like I couldn't draw them if I had to. They were just like undulating kaleidoscope of colors. And the first thing they said to me was, when you look into our eyes, you look into yours. I was like, whoa. And then they shot me the biggest dose of love that I have ever felt in my life. It was incredible. It was beyond a mother's love. And then they gave me information about activating our DNA. And they also gave me information about Tesla and Tchaikovsky and Disney, three of my favorite men. And they said that they were in contact and that Tesla and Disney met. And when you listen to Tchaikovsky, which has always been my favorite composer, that's an activator for your DNA. And that it's no coincidence that Disney's very, very beautiful movie Fantasia is filled with Tchaikovsky music. That is not a coincidence. So actually, Fantasia is not a cartoon, it's an activator.
I'm getting goosebumps because I have had contact with ETs who have told me the exact same thing. And you are the only other person who has ever said that. So I feel this connection with you. I'm a musician and I've played Tchaikovsky and I know, and also Handel as well. I know he was in contact.
Wow.
He got this beautiful music which activates DNA. So, wow, that is so cool.
So, yes. So you're the first one for me that has been given that information. Was it the type of being that I saw that gave you that information, or another type of being?
No, it was Valiant Thor. And okay, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I've been in contact with Thor my whole life, and he told me that. Yeah.
Well,
so
validating for me. That's a big thing.
Oh, that is. I have chills because of it, and so just kind of give people a little overview of how that DNA activation works when you listen to certain music.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the frequency and the vibration of the notes that he put together and how he put them together. And they're really high frequency, and that goes in and that works into your higher frequency DNA. Really, the biggest thing that activates your DNA is awareness. Awareness is what activates your higher frequency DNA. And when we activate our higher frequency DNA, that is when we start to show up in the most authentic way that we can. That's when Kundalini energy gets activated. And that's when we really start to plug into our quantum abilities, our paranormal abilities, our psychic abilities, our astral abilities. We just really start to blossom. And what that does is it makes it a little easier to be a human being, because we now have information and knowledge that we can use that is beyond just the 3D normal logical knowledge. And then we can also start to see the brainwashing that our government gives us and society gives us. And that becomes very clear.
Yeah, I agree with you. Your mind does clear up as the DNA gets activated and your frequency increases in rate. Your vibratory rate increases. I agree with that 100%. It seems that there's dormant DNA. You know how they say there's 95% of DNA is junk DNA? Well, that's because they don't know what it is. They don't know what it is. It's there for a reason.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's unbelievable that's there, and the things that you can learn to do with it. So like Tesla, probably Einstein, Tchaikovsky, Handel, people like that, accessed that, and they got a little taste of it, and so then they were downloaded with a lot more information. Do you feel like you are constantly being downloaded with new information now?
Yes, I have since I was a little girl. Yeah, this is my whole life. I started doing what was back then called automatic writing. Now we just call it channeling. I started doing that as a teenager. And so, but I was on this roller coaster of I would get this information, and also dead people would come to me a lot too. So it was information from dead people, and also information from, I don't know at that age where it was coming from, but it was not coming from me. And I would write and write and write. I would have pages and pages. And then I would tell myself, you're insane. And I would throw them all away. I'm like, not doing this again. And then a few months later, writing and writing and writing. And then I'm like, you're insane. And I just did that roller coaster for decades. Lots of people, I think, can identify with that.
Oh, yeah. But now you've come to terms with it. And
yes.
So you're keeping your paper now, aren't you?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I am keeping my volumes. And this happens to all of us. We all hear, feel, and see interdimensional information. Some of us don't even know that they are. Some know that they are, but refuse to pay attention. And some of us know that we are, and we're paying attention. But so it's happening to all of us. We all have paranormal psychic abilities, all of us. It's just the way the human being is. It's just, so what are you going to do? Are you going to ignore it? Or are you going to be aware of it? And that awareness will help you strengthen it.
That's a really, really good message. Now let's get, so that I don't lose this, what is this picture about?
That happened around 2012. I had just left my second marriage. And I moved into this really cool loft apartment that was kind of in a secluded area. And I was bombarded. All of a sudden, I was just bombarded with ETs and other beings. And one evening, I was taken to this dark room, and I was standing in front of this tube. That was filled with water, or I don't know, it was filled with liquid. And it was like a glowy blue, greenish color. And there was a baby floating at the top of it. And its eyes were open. And they were the bluest eyes I have ever seen in my life. And even though you can see its leg is hiding its sex, I knew it was a boy. And so I'm standing there looking at this tube, and there's nothing else in the room. It was black. The room was dark. And I'm wondering, what the heck am I looking at? Why am I looking at a baby in a tube? Why is there a baby in a tube? And then I felt there was something behind me. And that's when I turned around and I saw the three grays, tall, medium, and short. And this is before I knew they even came in different sizes. And they telepathically said to me, we're just going to stand back here, give you your space, give you your time, take all the time you need. Very nicely. And I turned back around and I was very confused and I felt nothing for it. And then ding, I pop back into my bedroom. My eyes pop open. After ET contact, what happens is you come to so quickly. There's no grogginess. It's not like, oh, I'm starting to wake up. It's like your eyes ding open and you are fully alert. And I'm like, whoa, all right, I'm not going to tell anybody about that. And so I hid that too.
And do you think that that was your baby?
They did remind me of that when I had this strange experience in Roswell. One day my ex called me and he said, I have to go to White Sands Missile Range. This is when we were living in Hawaii and I was going back and forth between Hawaii and Capitol Hill. And he said, I have to go to White Sands for work. He was a contractor with the government. And he said, why don't you meet me there and I'll take you to Roswell. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Roswell. I've been wanting to go since I was a little girl. So he took me to White Sands and I never want to go back there again. Have you been? The missile range, not the gypsum hills, which are gorgeous, but the missile range. It is a weird place. I wanted to run. It's in the bottom of this dark mountain, and in my mind's eye, I could see rooms and hallways and things under the ground, and it was not a good feeling. So finally, we got out of there, and I said, "Don't ever bring me back here again." So we went to Roswell, and we were in the hotel room, and he was in the bathroom, and I was flicking through the channels on the TV. And he came out of the bathroom to tell me something. So I stopped the TV on a commercial. And I was thinking to myself, I wish that show People of Earth would come on. Did you see that show, People of Earth?
Yes.
I love that show. Produced by Conan O'Brien.
Yes.
And I wanted to watch it, but I knew it was over. It had ended. And so he says what he has to say. And then I turn the TV back on. I don't even turn the channel. And then all of a sudden, poof, People of Earth comes on. And I'm like, oh, whoa, all right. And he had not seen it before. So we watched it and we laughed and we went to sleep. And then I woke up and the room was pitch black. Like I couldn't even see my hand. And I heard footsteps on the carpet and I feel him getting into the bed. And I thought to myself, why was he sitting on the couch? Was it because of the aliens? And I fell back to sleep. And I got up in the morning and he was taking a shower. And I'm like, why did I think he was sitting on the couch? Because first of all, I couldn't have seen it. The room was pitch black. And secondly, he never got up in the middle of the night and sat on the couch. And why did I think it was the aliens? And then all of a sudden, I had this gush of information. It was visual, and I also heard it, of what had happened the night before when I had come in contact with several grays. And they gave me information about the hybridization program. And they also wanted to talk to me about a book I was writing. But what they told me was, remember that baby in the tube? Well, that's part of the hybridization program. And we are splicing and dicing DNA with human beings because we have lost the ability to be empathetic. These are the grays. And if you don't have empathy and sympathy, your race is going to die out. And so that's what was happening. And now we're splicing and dicing DNA with human beings. Millions of people are involved in this. Mm-hmm. And we pretty much... we're dealing with people who are very loving. They wear their heart on their sleeve, and they tend to have pretty strong psi abilities. And they're creating these beings to be very loving, very intellectual, and also very strong in psi abilities. And they also told me that there's billions of these embryos that they've created. And they told me at one point there was a worry in the galactic system. What if a negative group gets a hold of these embryos and turn them into killing machines? And I was told that these beings are so loving that they couldn't possibly be killing machines. That can't happen. And they told me that we are on the path of destruction. It's not too late. We can turn around. We are headed towards destroying ourselves, but it's not too late. It's not inevitable. And if we do, then these embryos are going to reseed the planet.
Oh, so, that is their purpose? Hope for holding those embryos to reseed this planet?
Yes.
Oh, my.
He told me. So I get all this information, and then he comes out of the bathroom, and I said to him, did anything strange happen last night? He goes, oh, yeah. And he's very, very logical. And he said, this has never happened to me before. I don't even know how to describe it, but there was something in the room, and it was looking at us. And I kept getting up out of the bed to find it, and I couldn't find it. And it was so weird that I had to get out of bed, and I had to sit on the couch. And I watched you toss and turn and toss and turn, and you were moving around so much I thought you were awake. So I told him what happened, and it messed us both up. It really messed me up. And I thought to myself, okay, because back then I hated the grays. I thought they were horrible. And I told myself, when I go back to Capitol Hill, I'll be fine. And I went back to Capitol Hill, and I was not fine. That really took me for a loop. And so I started talking to friends about it for the first time, with really close friends that I thought would understand. And then we left Capitol Hill and we came here, and then I had the 2 X's on me.
Wow. What a story. Is all of that information in your book?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So here is a picture. You have the right to talk to aliens. And I assume that there's much more information as well. How can people get a hold of your book?
Thank you for asking. It's on Amazon.
Okay. Super easy. Amazon.com. Mm-hmm. And look for this book. I can't wait to read it myself.
Oh, thank you.
That it looks very, very interesting. Do you have anything else planned for the future? Are you writing any books, any more books?
Yes, I have started the second one. And I'm also going to be speaking at the McMenamin's UFO Festival in Oregon. That's coming up in May. And then I'll be on an experiencer panel and also helping experiencers at the MUFON International Symposium in Cincinnati coming up next year at the end of August. And there's a couple of other things in the works too. And I really encourage anyone who's had an experience to contact me. I'll help you deal the best that I can. I'll help you. So I help people through MUFON, and I also help people individually.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Through my website, planetsev.com, and my email is sev@planetsev.com.
Okay.
I also have a YouTube channel where I offer videos about how you can connect with otherworldly beings. I created guided meditations with music to help you connect. But it is paramount that you keep your vibration high, because you want to connect with high vibratory beings. And so that's why it's really important to do the self introspection, that spiritual journey to raise your frequency. Because if you're vibrating at a low frequency, not only are you aligning with low frequency people on Earth, you're going to be aligning with low frequency beings off Earth. So it's really important to keep your vibe high. So I help people, I give them suggestions and tips on how they can raise their frequency.
That is really, really good advice. And that's what I tell people as well. So I'm 100% on board with what you're saying, with everything that you said tonight. It's just been a great show. And I hope to have you back again sometime soon, because I know we have a lot more to talk about.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it so much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much. Well, Good grief, this has been a fast 1 hour because Sev is absolutely fascinating, and I'm got to have her back on to talk about some more things. We are going to be finished for this evening, and of course, we're here every Friday. Most shows are live. Once in a while, if I'm out of town, you might hear a rerun, but it'll be a good one. So this is Margie K, and I'm signing off for now, and see you again next week.
You've been listening to the UNX News Podcast with Margie K. Any rebroadcast or duplication of this program or its content without express written permission from UNX Media or Margie K herself is strictly prohibited. The UNX News Podcast, in direct cooperation with the internet website unxmedia.com.